Hey guys, welcome back to the Badass Podcast. I am your host, Sasha Davis. Today, I want to share how powerful our old stories can be in our present life. I want to share with you a story of when I was 10 years old. So I was in fourth grade, and just to kind of paint you a picture of how one scenario changed how I viewed this particular topic for the rest of my life. And it had created this story around this topic to where I didn't think I was in control of my life, of my future, of this particular situation. And I just thought that that's how things had to be because that's how I was raised. And it is no fault. Let me be clear. This is no fault of my parents. They did the best they could with what they had. They did the best they could with what they had. And now that they know better, they do better. Same with me. Now that I know better, I do better. And we all do that. When we know better, we do better. Okay? And so this story might be hard for some of you to hear. Hell, it's even hard for me to share. But I just want to show you how powerful our old stories are and how they have so much control over us. And once we recognize what they are, once we recognize that they are exactly just that, they're just stories, okay? And you can rewrite your story at any given time. You are writing your story right now. How do you want the rest of the book to look like? Is this the climax right here? Is this where you're like, all right, this is my rock bottom. Things can't get any worse. I'm ready to change. Or you're super stuck and you just can't continue grinding and being overwhelmed and stressed to the max anymore. Like you are a volcano ready to erupt and you are just done with how life is right now. I totally understand. I was there not too long ago. I had come to quite a few crossroads in my life. But this one here is a big one for me. So let's step back. Let's go back to, I don't remember what year it was, but I was 10 years old and I was in fourth grade. And we woke up just like we would any other day. You know, my mom really struggled waking us up and getting us off to school. Me and my sister were kind of hellions, and we would always sleep until the last minute, and then we'd get up and then we'd rush around and shove food in our face and hurry up and, throw the dogs food, feed the horses and do the chickens and just run around and try and get everything done in like probably a half hour or less. It was just crazy. And we lived out in the country, so the bus picked us up at our driveway. And I just remember that we were always in such a hurry, and the bus driver would always pull into our driveway. And he, for the most part, would wait pretty patiently. Every now and then he would honk. I don't think he ever left us unless we went out there and waved him off. So then me and my sister are booking it down our driveway. The dogs are chasing us. They're barking. And we tell our mom bye, tell the dogs bye, jump on the bus and head to the back of the bus. That's where we hung out. We hung out in the back of the bus. We were the rulers of the bus. We had about an hour-long bus ride. I think the bus picked us up at 7:20, if I remember right, 7:10 or 7:20, and we got to school about 8:15. School started at 8:30. And we were always sitting in the back of the bus. We had the little seat and the big seat in the back. We even permanent markered our names on it. Like, we ran the show on that bus. We were hellions. We were rebels. That was like our time, and it was to the point where we even like kicked people out of our spots. They were like, your name's not on this seat. And we're like, bullshit, it's right here. Oh, and I don't know why the bus driver allowed it. Probably because he just didn't want us to cause any more trouble. I don't know. So then we get to school, and it's a little tiny town of about, I don't know, less than 2,000. I'm not sure what the exact count was at this time. And the school was K through 12. It was a small school. I had about 45-ish students in my grade. Same with my sister. She might have had a little bit more. But the elementary was all in the same area. So she goes to third grade and I go to fourth grade. We go to our classrooms and carry about our normal day. Till about halfway through the morning, my mom shows up. And she tells my teacher that I have a dentist appointment. Like, I have an emergency dentist appointment all of a sudden. And I'm like, whoa, wait a minute. This doesn't sound right. And they tell me to pack up all of my stuff. My mom looked like she had been a hot mess that morning. She had, tears in her eyes and was shaky and just nervous and not herself. And so I knew something was wrong. Like, I was very intuitive. I am very good at reading people, even at an early age. Like, and I can feel other people's emotions. It's so strange to say out loud, but I can. You call it an empath, call it whatever you want. I have this way of feeling what everybody else is feeling. And so I knew something was wrong. I just knew it. So I pack up all of my stuff, grab my jacket because it's November and it's cold out. And we head over and we get my sister and we do the same thing. We go to her room and we're like, hey, Sonia, we got a dentist appointment. It's time to go. And so we get my sister and then we head out to the front doors. We go through the doors and my mom's like, get in the truck. We're like, what? And it was this big SUV, big black SUV with a trailer. And I'm like, this can't be right. Something's not right. And I just knew, like, right then, like, I started to cry. My heart sunk. And I just knew things were not going to be the same. And I knew that my parents had struggled to stay married. I knew that there was issues. I knew that they tried so hard for the sake of me and my sister. But I always had this feeling that something was going to happen. And today was that day. So we get in the car and my sister is just so excited. She's like, oh my God, we're going to Minnesota. We're going to go hang out with family and do all these things. And my mom's crying. She doesn't really know what to say. And I am just like, no, you idiot. We're never coming back. And I just went off the deep end. And I'm pretty sure I said some mean, hurtful things to both of them. I couldn't believe what was happening. I was so angry. I had always seen people's parents, split, and I thought I was so lucky that my parents were together, even though things weren't perfect, and I know that they just were always at each other's throats, and hell, they worked separate or opposite shifts, and I'm pretty sure, one was so that somebody was home to watch me and my sister, and the other reason is because I don't think that they could stand each other, and I don't know if that's true or not, you guys. That's just my observation. Like I said, my parents really tried hard to make things work, and it just wasn't happening. Like, there's just a point in your life when you have to accept fate and just, roll with the punches and move on to something else. And that's okay. So anyways, we head to Minnesota, and it was about a year or so before we spoke to our dad again. And it was super hard, like, not having that father figure. And I was really close with my dad. And my sister was kind of close. Like, my sister was a lot closer with my mom. She was a mama's girl and I was a daddy's girl. And so I took it really hard, and I look back and I can't imagine how he felt coming home to an empty house, everything gone, packed up, no note, no nothing. There was no cell phones. There was no internet. There was no social media. There wasn't anything like that. It was just coming home from work and your whole life flipped upside down. I can't even imagine how that must have felt. And then for my mom, I can't imagine how she must have felt knowing that the marriage was going to end and to take it upon herself to orchestrate this entire getaway, more or less. Like, I'm not entirely sure on the reason why she kept it such a secret. It's not a topic that was openly discussed. Let's just say that. And maybe I'll find out in the future. I have an idea, but I don't want to speak on somebody else's behalf on why that happened, but she orchestrated this entire thing. I think maybe a couple other people knew, But she did. She got a trailer. She loaded up all this stuff. She rented a car. She found, just everything. And I can't imagine how much planning must have gone into this, and the feelings that she had, and how she had to keep it hidden. And it was such a crazy situation that I have no idea how either of my parents handled that, but they did. And they're still here today, and they still can talk civilly once in a while. But that day changed my life forever. And it's a story that plays in my head, and that had played in my head for a really long time. And so this is why I want you to know that stories that happen to us when we were younger are so powerful, and that's how we see life, through what we were taught as a child, whether or not it was actually spoken words taught to us. But, monkey see, monkey do. And so I had this view of marriage and relationships from such a young age. I thought that every family just yelled and screamed and fought and hated each other. And I thought every marriage eventually ended in divorce. That was just what happened. Like, okay, you get married, it doesn't work out, you just get divorced, and oh, we don't actually talk about our problems, we just shove them deep down. Or, oh, we don't actually do anything, we just run away from our problems, and I have all these stories that play in my head. And I mean, even at a young age, I was always told, crying only gives you a headache, so why cry? And that if you show emotion, it makes you weak. And so I had all these bottled up emotions that I absolutely refused to share with anybody. And I grew up with the mindset that I was never going to get married. I would never put myself through what my parents went through. No way in hell would I ever go through that. And so I had built this wall so thick that I'm telling you, nobody was getting through. And not that I never dated, I did. But my stories were so deeply ingrained in my brain that I self-sabotaged every relationship I ever had. Knowingly, unknowingly, intentional, unintentional. I mean, I did. I didn't really ever try to get boyfriends, but they just kind of seemed to come my way. People wanted to date me. I don't know. And so I just kind of agreed to it. And I did. I self-sabotaged everything. And not that I was ever a cheater. I didn't do things like that. But I drank a lot. I partied a lot. I didn't give a shit about what anybody else said or did. I did my thing without ever thinking about if it would be affecting anybody else. I said mean, hurtful things, and then would, do the I'm sorry. I just did that whole abusive drama triangle, and I was the perpetrator, and my boyfriends were the victims. And I don't mean to laugh because that's not funny, but it's just like the first time like saying it out loud. I'm like, oh my God, I was so mentally and sometimes physically abusive to these people. And looking back, it was just because I had so much bottled up anger and so much bottled up frustration, and I had these stories built, and I was like, nope, I am not, this relationship has to be bad, because that's how relationships are. They're just bad. You can't have good relationships. I don't deserve a good relationship. My parents didn't have good relationships, so why should I have a good relationship? I'm never going to get married because nobody is ever going to want to marry me because I am so broken. And these are the things that went through my head. And so in order to make sure that I would never have a good relationship, I would sabotage it. Looking back, I just seen how hurt my parents were and how much they struggled and how much pain and anger and frustration they endured through this separation, through this divorce, and how it affected me and my sister and just our entire life, and it's again, we all did the best we could with what we had, and it was just what was, that's just where we were at in life, and it had just made me feel that I couldn't change it. Like, that was just the way things were. And so fast forward to, I was 20 or 21, I want to say, because My husband, who wasn't my husband at the time, was 20 and he couldn't get into the bars, which I still think was pretty funny. So I'm a cougar and I'm going after the young ones. Actually, that's totally false because I did not really chase him. He just, well, no, I don't think I really chased him. Doesn't matter. So anyways, this guy waltzed into my life, which is pretty funny because one of my friends had showed him to me online about a year later, and I didn't really think too much of it, but she's like, oh, he's newly single. What do you think of him? We were like surfing because I hadn't dated in like 2 years, and I think people thought that I was, well, they did. They thought I was either asexual or that I was a lesbian because I just didn't date. I was just like, F guys, I'm done. I can't do this stuff. Like, relationships are all horrible. I don't ever want to be put through that. I'm doing my own thing. I'm independent. I'm this and I'm that, and I don't need a man in my life. That's what I kept telling myself. And so we're scrolling through, it was probably Facebook, or maybe it was, what was the other one? MySpace? I'm not sure. No, I think it was Facebook. And she's like, what do you think of this guy? And I was like, ooh, dibs on that guy. Totally kidding. I mean, he was good looking. Let's be honest. He was great looking. But I think he had a girlfriend at the time. Actually, I'm pretty sure he had a girlfriend at the time, and I just didn't really think much of it. So about a year later, I'm having a party at my house, out at my dad's place, because I partied hard. You guys, I partied hard. I cannot. That'll be a topic for another day. So he comes to this party, right? And I am a hot mess. Like, I am not a cute hot mess, you guys. Like, I cuss like a sailor. I smoke cigarettes. I drink tequila straight from the bottle. I am hardcore. I gave no shits. I talked about whatever the hell I wanted, gave no regard for anybody else, and I was entertaining, to say the least. I think I had a lot of friends just because people wanted to see this Sasha shit show. And he he saw something in me, and I don't know what. Maybe he just thought I was good looking, but he had told my friends, like, hey, I'm interested in Sasha, or whatever he had said. And she was like, oh, really? And then he just kind of kept coming to these parties, and he just kept kind of showing up. And so then we kind of just kept hanging out for a month or so. And then he had to go back to college, and his college was about 5 hours from my hometown. Was actually on the other state of Iowa, or on the other side of Iowa. And so he's on the eastern side and I was on the western side. And I was like, I don't date. I don't do long relationships. Let's be clear. We can be buddies, special buddies. And that's about the extent of it. Like, I am not committed, not even a little bit. And I don't know, there was something about him. Like, we talked and talked and talked on the phone for hours, and we saw each other just about every weekend. We would drive back and forth across the state of Iowa to see each other. And he kept wanting to date. And I'm like, nope, I don't like labels. I'm not dating. Nope, I'm not being anybody's girlfriend. You can't tie me down. Like, no way in hell. Like, I am determined to be single and independent. I saw what marriage does to people. I saw what relationships do to people. Nope, not doing it. Well, it took him not quite a year, but eventually I was convinced, and I was like, all right, let's do the damn thing. Let's be official. And it was, you guys, I think we like, quote, saw each other for almost a year before we started dating. And then we started dating, and then things got kind of rocky because Sasha went back in her old habits and decided that she was going to try and self-sabotage this relationship. So I partied even harder. I got into fights. I got into tons of trouble. I went to jail. I did all of these terrible things to try and ruin this relationship. And again, like, I want to full disclosure, like, I did not cheat. I didn't do anything like that. I did just about everything else, though, to piss him off to where he would want to leave me. And there was one night in particular that I really pissed him off, and he was done. Like, he walked away and he was like, I am done with you. Like, you have pushed me away for far too long, and I'm not playing your game anymore. And then I was like, oh shit, my sabotage really worked. And it wasn't like the sabotage before, because like I felt this hard. Like, I was like, oh no, what did I do? And the previous relationships, I was like, meh, whatever. I'm going to go party with my friends. I don't give a shit. But like this, I cried and cried and cried. And I have never felt such emotional pain in my life. Like I was a wreck. And I knew that I had to fix it. I was like, wow, Sasha, like you had it good and you keep screwing it up. Like the only person holding you back from a great relationship is you and these stupid ass stories that you had from being a 10-year-old, you know? And I had to like dive deep and realize that my parents' life was not my life. That story that I had created or that I had been a part of was not my story. I could and I did deserve a good relationship. And it was so hard for me to see. I had to go through some pretty dark places before I got there. Like I was on the verge of like never seeing the man of my dreams again. And God, that even sounds like cheesy to say, like I would never say that. And I just said that. Ugh. But really though, like he's the perfect person for me. And I totally messed it up. And I was like, he's done. Like he's done with me. I don't know what I'm going to do. And somehow I had convinced him to have breakfast with me at Perkins. And I could barely eat. I was so nervous. I was like, I was shaking like a leaf. And believe it or not, I was super hungover because I had stayed up all night drinking. Like, how the hell am I going to do this? Because that's how I coped with everything. Like, I just drank. I was just like, shove all the emotions down with a bottle of tequila and you'll be fine. And it was not fine. And he was like, you need to get your shit together. Like, I want to be with you. I see like the potential in you and I see what life could be like. And I need you to see that too. And I was like, oh my God, what am I going to do? And so I had to make a choice. It was like, all right, get your shit together or keep running and hiding. And I decided to just face that fear, face that story and go with it. And it was such uncharted territory. And I was terrified. I had no idea what I was getting myself into, but all I knew is that I had to do it. There was something inside me that was like, Sasha, you were meant for more. This guy is here. He loves you. And I sometimes I still like can't wrap my mind around it. I'm like, oh my God, how is he still here? Like, how am I this lucky? Like, what is going on? Like, I have such a great life. Like, do I really deserve this? And the answer is yes, but I still sometimes second guess myself. And so I worked so hard, and I'm not talking just like physical work, like inner work. Like I had to face some deep, dark demons that had been haunting me for years, you guys. And I had just built up these stories in my head that were just total BS. Like they were just total, like just made up stories, you know? And I had to rewrite my story. I had to just wing it and just go with it and lean into that, that discomfort and lean into that fear and that resistance and all the things that were telling me to run and hide, because something deep down was like, you were meant for more. Like you were meant to have a great life. You were meant to have a great relationship. You can have a loving husband who cares about you, who supports you, who wants to make a family with you, who wants to buy an acreage out in the middle of nowhere and have a bajillion dogs and a bajillion horses and a perfect little baby girl. If you'd have told me this 10 years ago, I'd have said, no way. I'm not having kids. I'm not getting married. I'm not doing any of that stuff. Like I was convinced that I was just gonna, I don't know, be a gypsy and roam the world. That was what my plan was at the time. And so why I'm telling you this story is because I want you to know how powerful these stories are from our childhood, from our early adulthood, just from these traumatic experiences in our life that aren't necessarily ours, but we saw them firsthand, and they had such an impact on us that they had created the story in our own life. They had almost like spilled over into our life, thinking that we had to live the same life. And it was so freeing to finally have that aha moment where I was like, no, that is my parents' story. And even they're rewriting their story. You know, they're both remarried now. They're both happy. They're both doing their own thing. Like their separation allowed them the freedom to rewrite their story. Once they let each other go, they were able to live a different life, one that they enjoyed. And so was I. Once I let go of that story of them together, that relationships had to be hard, marriage had to end in divorce, and all of these things, you know, that I did not deserve a good person in my life. Once I let all of that go, I was free to write my own story. I was free to enjoy my marriage, actually get married, you guys. Like, I actually got married. I've been married for 3.5 years now. Can you even freaking believe it? It did take him like 6 years to convince me to get married. And I'll have to tell you the whole marriage proposal another day, because I also tried to sabotage that unintentionally, but that's just how deeply ingrained this stuff is into my head, that it has to be like a conscious decision for me all the time. Like, make the right choice, Sasha. Like, what's the right next step? And it's always something that's in my head. Like, what would the new Sasha do? What would the good Sasha do? Not what, or sometimes I even say like, what's the opposite of what old Sasha would do? And that's what I do. And that's what I do every day, because these are still like in my head, that I have to make a decision every day. Like, okay, how do I be a good person? How do I be a good person? Because it hasn't come naturally to me yet. And for you, you might be like, oh, Sasha, you're such a great person. You know, I hear it all the time, and I truly appreciate that, and I'm humbled by that. But it's still like an imposter syndrome for me, because I have to try so hard. And maybe I don't really have to try hard, but in my head, it's like a constant battle. Like, I have this Jekyll and Hyde, like, are you going to be an asshole today, Sasha? Or are you going to inspire somebody today, Sasha? Are you going to do something nice for your husband? Or are you going to be a total asshole? And so like, I have to make those conscious, good decisions every single day. And sometimes I unintentionally sabotage it. And I'm almost like, like I do the Homer Simpson, like, don't, damn it. Why did you do that? So then I have to take a step back, reassess the situation, and move forward accordingly. You know, like, oop, detour, reroute. Okay, let's get back on the right path. And so you are the leader of your change. You are in control of your future. You do not have to live an old story. You can decide today to rewrite that story. That's all you have to do. You have to make the decision, and then you have to take action on the new decision, and only focus on the next right step. Like, sit down and you're like, okay, if I want to rewrite my life, what is the next right step that I need to do in my life, in my relationship, in my money, in my business, whatever it is that you're working on? What is the next right step for you? If you're stuck, how can you take a step back, look at the bigger picture, figure out what the next right step is? Take that detour. You don't have to be stuck on the freeway to hell, highway to hell, whatever. You can detour and take the scenic route and have fun along the way. Hell, that's what I'm doing. But every day I'm like, oh, but maybe the highway to hell is faster. Maybe I'll just, no. Don't even look over there. Stay on the scenic route, have fun, detour, have stops along the way, enjoy it. Like, you can seriously make the decision today to have a good life. You deserve it. Everybody deserves it. It's us, ourselves, that make up these stupid stories from our past that hold us back. You are in control of your life. You are the leader of your change. Nobody else can do that for you. And I cannot say it enough. And you can reach out for help, and you can have somebody guide you. Hell, I have quite a few people in my life that help me stay on track in my business, in my health, in my fitness, in my mental health, my relationships, my money, my spirituality. I have people to help me, because sometimes I get stuck in my own head that I'm like, I can't see the bigger picture. And that's the power of mentorship. And that's the power of coaching, is to have somebody have that outside perspective that has no judgment, that's been there, that's done that, and is able to see you for what you really are and all the potential that you really hold in your hands. Like, you have all the potential, all the opportunity in the world to have whatever life you want. Like, you don't have to grind every day. You don't have to be overwhelmed every day. You don't have to be in that shitty relationship. You don't have to. You are the one that is keeping you there. Okay? So that is all I have for you today. I sincerely appreciate you tuning in and listening to my story of a 10-year-old girl who was carrying around a story for the better part of 20 years. And even after 20 years, I'm still able to rewrite my story. And it's incredible. That whole freedom, that it's right at my fingertips. You know, I just grab a pen, sit down, write out what I want, and then I go do it. And it's seriously that simple. It's that simple. And that's all you have to do. And if you're looking for more information, if you're looking for guidance, if you're looking for mentorship, I highly, highly suggest that you head over to sashadavis.com and apply for my mastery program. It is a one-on-one coaching program with me and the help of others inside the group. So we have one-on-one calls, and then you have the accountability of me and the group, and you have tangible action steps within the modules in the online coaching program that I also have, with the videos, with the PDFs. You have everything you need to start a new life, to rewrite your story, to bust out of this mold that you're in, and to get unstuck, and to start creating the life that you love and want to live and enjoy and be happy and be free and just have fun. You can do it. Okay? So head on over to sashadavis.com, apply, we'll get on the phone, we'll see if you're a good fit, and we'll go from there. That's it. Just a conversation, but I want you to spend time on this application. I don't want you to just one word answer, because that's half-assing it. And if you're half-assing it in an application, you're going to half-ass it in the program. And I don't want half-assers. I'll just be honest, because half-assers get nowhere. If you put in half-ass effort, you're going to get half-ass results. So I am wanting women, ambitious leaders, let's say, who want to make change in their life, who are not messing around anymore. They're ready to face their stories and write new ones. Okay? If this is you, go apply. Until next time, ladies, go be a badass.